I'm Del, Filipino, bisexual, yeah.
I'm Nana, pronouns are she, her, bisexual, neurodivergent, Aries. That was so lame. I'm Liv, I'm a pansexual, I would say chronically ill. My pronouns are she, her.
I'm Beth, my pronouns are she, her. I identify as queer, and I'm biracial, black, I don't mind either.
My name is Chantal Herbert. I would now class myself as a lesbian. I would have said bisexual a while ago, but I date women only now, so I would say lesbian, just for ease. And my pronouns are she, her.
I'm TJ, pronouns he, they. I'm from London originally, but I moved up north to Halifax, and I'm currently studying in Manchester. So.
I would say Instagram over Twitter and Facebook, to be honest. But it kind of changes on what you do, I guess.
Facebook was never in the mix.
It was.
To be honest, I think if anything, I use Instagram to kind of for gay content, like for queer content, LGBT related content. Twitter, maybe for like more current affairs to do with like, you know, when BLM like happened and all the protests and stuff, like Twitter was the one that like kind of fueled all that for me, and then obviously like we then shared that through Instagram, so it was kind of both to do with race for me as well. But Instagram definitely for my sexuality and like LGBTQ related stuff.
It definitely has had a big impact in terms of how I sort of go about, like, for me, especially having moved from London to Halifax. Halifax was when I sort of had my sort of sexual awakening, or was beginning to explore that. And I feel like without social media, it could have been quite isolating. Via social media, I was able to find a lot of people, like-minded people, especially during the pandemic. That's literally the only way I was interacting. But also that there is negatives in terms of, especially when it comes to dating apps, being in an area where you're the sole Black person in that area comes with a lot of racism and ignorance, which of course isn't good. So I see it very two-sidedly. I'm very much like, I have met so many good friends that I would have not made without social media, but I've also gone through a lot because of social media.
DJing or just attending events definitely gives me much more joy than being on social media, because I'm not surrounded by people trying to sort of pull down that joy all the time. Whereas on social media, that's kind of the case. And you get enthralled in arguments, or you read stuff and it like increases your heart rate, but not in a good way, makes you really anxious. Whereas when I go out into spaces, I've usually got my friends with me. So, you know, if anything happens, that anxiety is almost like given to some other people, you know, we can share that anxiety. So yeah, you know, things like DJing in spaces gives me a little joy, even though it usually comes with a bit of drama. Like any event that I normally do, like if I'm in a white space, something will happen, you know, some guy will like try and talk to me about DJing or put his arm around me, or, you know, just something often happens if it's not a private event. But still, I'm still surrounded by people that will be there to help me and kind of I can talk it out with. But social media is a very lonely space. You can message your friends and tell them that I'm I'm having this kind of like argument online, or I've seen the thing, but you don't often talk about what you see on social media with other people. It just gets in your head too much. Whereas, yeah, I can pick and choose where I go and what I do. But on social media, you can't really pick and choose what you see because it's already come before you can like get rid of it. So, when you're scrolling through Instagram, there are things you just don't want to see, but it's too late. Whereas like if I go out in public, yes, there are things that I see, but the events that I'm going to are generally spaces that I've chosen because they're safe enough.
I feel like TikTok has kind of diagnosed any neurodivergency that I might have had, weirdly enough, because a lot of the stuff on there kind of makes you realise, not just like racial stuff or like sexual, like anything to do with your sexuality, but it's like more to obviously about yourself. There's just a lot on there. Like,
if you look at people in very high positions, white men in very high positions, people like Piers Morgan, Boris Johnson, they write articles, and Boris Johnson has written a lot of sort of racist things. So, and he is a very, very powerful figure in British society. So if somebody like that is able to kind of say about how people look, marginalised communities look, and they can really change the perception of what people think. So if he came out and wrote an article about the positivity of brown people or people of colour, it would really change the ideas, I think, of what people think.
But like our queer brother and sisters, and also being able to like see more experiences, talk, and like also bring comfort to people like across the freaking ocean. Like that's the nice bit about it. Like I feel like those connections don't have that agenda, but the government, like being able to have a say in certain things being posted, like now all this like kill the bill stuff, and how they're trying to like censor and just fascism,
Like the algorithms again.
I just feel a bit uncomfortable in some spaces, but ultimately I do prefer an in-person space. I think because you can hear people breathing, you can look at them, you can make eye contact or not make eye contact. You can go home and then decompress. Whereas if you do something, if you're already at home, there's no other way to go. There's no other place to go. So there's no like unwinding that's possible so much because it's like the energy is already in that space. I like a bit of a mixture of both, really. I think for me, not one's worse than the other, but I do like getting out and being quite social, even though I feel quite uncomfortable in those spaces. So some of the top 5 influencers said that they didn't believe that shadow banning existed, but only because what they post would never be shadow banned. So how would they know? They don't do any form of activism or post. They post nice pictures of themselves in dresses or pairs of trousers, but they make money for things like Instagram or whatever. Instagram's the main thing you get shadow banned on. They wouldn't know about shadow banning because it doesn't happen to them because they don't do anything that would make that happen. But I'm definitely getting shadow banned all the time. Like when I look at Sister Shack stories, sometimes I'm getting 300-400 hits on them when it's all nicey stuff. But as soon as I start posting any activism, it drops to 80-90 people. So, and most of the stuff on Sister Shack is activism. So, my reach is so small because I'm shadow banned. And it's clearly probably because either some of the stuff is being reported and then I'm reposting it. So then the stuff that I'm posting is being reported, or there are probably people on my page who because it's a public page, I probably get reported all the time. And yes, nothing will happen with those reports, but then you get shadow banned. So yeah, it's a definite thing. And I think accounts, especially Black content creators accounts, are probably always shadow banned. Because especially with the hashtags that we'll use, or people just reporting us because they don't want to see Black bodies, brown bodies enjoying themselves or having anything to say.
Just remember when Shan couldn't tag someone or something on Instagram because she had shared a link towards refugees or something in Afghanistan. Do you remember that? Where she was banned or something? That's what I had in mind when I was there is always an agenda.
Is that shadow ban?
I have no idea. She got restricted for a lot of sorry, not a lot, but she got restricted from this something on Instagram because obviously she was sharing she had a link in her bio supporting, obviously, like refugee camps and stuff like that.
No.
Yeah, just what?
I feel like unless a lot of people are making noise about something, a lot of these social media platforms don't care. I think they're very much concerned about image. That's why there is strength in numbers. If a lot of people are complaining about something, but then all these like little, like sort of personal issues kind of go swept under the rug. Unless you have a big following, then of course, I feel like you'll be taken more seriously.
Quite interesting how they can say a lot of really negative stuff about people of colour, but as soon as something happens to say a white girl or something, a newspaper is immediately like cancelled. You know, so many things can happen to us and it's just kind of like brushed under the carpet. You know, even if you look at the two sisters that were murdered in lockdown, and then their photos were taken by those two police and they're now in jail. Even what went on around that, you know, there wasn't as much news as there should have been, but yet someone like Sarah Everard, who I'm not saying, you know, deserves any less than we get, but we certainly deserve an equal amount of press space. So yeah, I think the government and media, who go hand in hand, have the main role of how people are represented.
I had someone send me a monkey emoji and a banana, and I reported that to Twitter. So I have a thing where I just say block and report, and a Twitter got back to me like a couple of days ago saying it doesn't violate our policy.
One point, the girl in question, who had just been forcefully removed by the bouncers, said, "I'm not comfortable with interacting with the police. Could I speak through our group, the group that we were helping her, and we'll let them know." This policewoman told her to shut up, just basically told her to shut up. My friend Mia said, you know what, that's not on. This girl that we've been with has told us not only does she have mental issues, but she's obviously been drinking or spiked or something. She's not in the correct mindset. But then I think from then a lot of chaos was happening. One of my friends was having a panic attack, but the girl in question got forcefully, like, police officers had her limbs, like each thing, and had put her into the van, because at this point there was a van that they threw her into. While everything was happening, Mia was talking to police officers, but obviously angry, rightfully so, we were all angry. Police officers turned to us and said, "Do you want to be with her?" And like, it was going so much that Mia was literally, my friend was about to be arrested, and I had to beg the police officers, like, please, we'll just go, like, please, please, please. During this whole encounter on Canal Street, which is like the gay club area, a lot of people were watching and they were commentating. Like, we went up to some people and we were just about to walk off, and they were like, "Oh, slay queen." I'm like, this isn't the correct time or place. You've literally just seen, like, this is literally something you've just seen. A black woman had been forcefully put into a van. There's like so much going on. There's distress. People are crying, and you're talking about slay queen. It just like really cemented that, as much as Canal Street's for the gays, maybe not for me, not my shade, not my, I don't know. It just was so surreal. It's like, is this satire? Like, are you being for real? Slay queen? Okay. It's like, what? And I know the type of people that they were to be doing up BLM a couple summers ago. Now it just didn't sit right with me. I think that was one of the times that I really felt it. I was like, oh, not for me, okay.
I think the government and media, who go hand in hand, have the main role of how people are represented within society, and we're often represented so badly because actually they're racist. You know, they're racist. They go to these public schools where they have conservative parents from like the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, or parents of parents. So they come up with all these ideas. You know, you learn racism from a family member or your family or the people around you. So if you're surrounded by those people all the time, it's never going to change. And these people then get into positions of power where they work for newspapers, they work for radio, they work for TV. So of course they're going to come in with those ideas. Then they're in charge of who's hired, what stories go into the news. And this is exactly the problem. This is what happens when you also don't take other marginalized communities up with you.
I feel like for me and Twitter, my connection to my blackness was actually through the app Twitter, because it's more to do with my journey of moving up north, where I very much needed that sense of community that I kind of felt on Twitter. But the biggest sense of community that I felt that I really used during the pandemic was an app called Clubhouse. And it was specifically a queer person of color group that was in quite a bit. And that particular app was very vital to me. I feel like creating my own queer joy is very much dependent on the friends I've made. I've been able to make so many Black queer POC friends during uni, and I really, really value that. On my dad's side, I'm Ugandan, and my mum's side, I'm Jamaican. I feel like I've been able to make friends with the same cultural backgrounds and sort of marry the two sides of myself that I feel like sometimes when it comes to family, I have to separate. But it's been a pleasure, just being able to explore both my blackness and my queerness together.